Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our newest webinar. My name is Sarah Passero, and I'm here with AIS Media EVP Denise Malling, who will be presenting this exciting webinar titled The Science Behind Keyword Selection. We love receiving your feedback, so we'll ask you to complete a quick survey at the end of our presentation. If you're on Twitter, you can join the conversation using the hashtag AISMediaEDU. Anyone who tweets us will get a special mention. Finally, we'll be wrapping up with a special offer for our webinar attendees. For those of you just becoming familiar with AIS Media, we're headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, and specialize in performance-driven digital marketing for high-growth companies. If you're in the Atlanta area, you're always welcome to visit our office. We focus on providing digital marketing performance amplified. What that means is attracting, engaging, and ultimately converting. Our capabilities include digital marketing strategy, user experience design, lead generation, and online sales programs, digital marketing including SEO, PPC, email, and conversion rate optimization. Our work has been recognized and garnered dozens of awards, including Best in Class Interactive Media Award for Responsive Web Design. Our insights and methodologies, such as what we're about to share with you today, has been featured on the press and news, including CNBC, Forbes, The Today Show, and many others. We've worked with hundreds of clients, ranging from leading companies, top brands, to Fortune 500 corporations. We're also very grateful that many attend our webinars. With that, here's your presenter, Denise Malling.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. We're going to jump right into channel roles in the patient journey. And so just to kind of show you what this is the direct 68% means that's your website, and that's the weight that the website has on actual conversion. So the others that you see, display advertising, email, paid search, and organic search, all have more than 50% weight on conversion, and then social is at only 38%, but you will see that grow. So what we're going to focus today on is our second, more impactful channel, if you will, on the conversion, and that's organic search. So 5 key elements to keyword selection. This presentation, The Science Behind Keyword Selection, is the beginning of how you do great search engine optimization. So one is competitive intelligence. Before we do anything, we need to know what our competitors are doing, where do we stand, what do we want to chase. High volume keywords, how high volume do we need to get what we're looking for? Are we chasing the highest volume, or are we really focused on relevancy and intent? And then at the end, we're going to show you actual selections. So it's all going to come together in each of these steps to show you how do you get to that really rich, great list that's going to have all of the volume that you need, beat out your competitors, focus on relevancy, and high commercial intent, meaning that they're going to convert. So let's move forward. We've got 3 common mistakes to avoid, and you're going to see them throughout the comparisons that we share. Single word terms, very difficult to be ranked for. It doesn't really say much. Terms that are too broad and not focused on what you offer, and also terms that are too specialized. So like anything, there's going to be a middle ground that you want to find, and that's appropriate for your website and your audience. So when you determine your current keyword strength, you're going to look at your existing keywords. And that's part of any SEO program, is to really figure out where you're being found. What are the terms that you're being found under? And is it accurate? And quite frankly, what's the potential? The potential is probably much greater than you think it is. It's just a matter of doing that research up front to determine, again, that really well-defined final selected list. So what's your goal? Is your goal to increase traffic for traffic's sake, or is your goal to increase traffic of those that are most likely to convert? Are you just driving brand awareness? Do you need to let people know that you're out there and where you are? That's fine. That's a fine goal as well. We need, in both those situations, however, to be sure that when someone lands on the site that they stay there. Otherwise, you're going to have, it's going to be extra difficult to get to the top of the engine, because Google will base you have a high bounce rate. And then, of course, generating leads. And so what does that mean? Does that mean someone fills out a patient survey and we're going to nurture that? Did somebody come in and learn more and we feel like, you know, we have nonprofits that we work with and it's really more about education about nutrition? Did they stay on the website for so long? Or did they actually fill out a form? Are they, you know, suggesting or requesting an appointment time? Are they actually making an appointment online? So those are various goals. At some point, all of them are goals for most practices. So 88% of those looking for health information start on search engines. And so if that's the case, we really do need to be found. More importantly, we need to be found on page 1 because apparently 89.82% of people are clicking links on the first page. So it's not like they go to the second or third page. What they may do is actually type in a different keyword or phrase or long tail it, make it more specific. So if they type in Atlanta dentist in this example, we have 3 ads running. 62% of searchers will click on an organic link, while the rest will click on PPC, which is that paid top 3 ads. Then we have our map, which is now very important in Google+, has a lot to do with this, so that's considered organic, as well as that one right below the mapping. That's organic search. So if you're in the top 3 to 5, you're going to get the majority of clicks. So the further you go down the page, the fewer the clicks you're going to get, as long as they typed in a term that it looks like it makes sense. So 89.82% are not going to go. They're going to type in a whole new search term or phrase. The rest might go to the second page. So let's look at competitive intel and determine how do we decide who we're going to chase and whether we want to. So we want to identify our top 3 competitors, and oftentimes we assume that those competitors are going to be close to us or do what we do. But the reality is, this is search engine. This isn't location. This is somebody typing in something, and those who show up are competitors or disruptors, like Wikipedia and WebMD in the case of healthcare marketing, or you know, any kind of doctor rating and review sites, Healthgrades or something like that. So those are disruptors in your area of search. So we want to look for the keywords that competitors rank for and you don't, and really determine, do we want to fight for that keyword? We want to look at the keywords we're ranking for and making sure those competitors don't, because we don't want them there, especially if we know they're very close by and they offer the same type of services. Then we want to look at the volume of branded key terms. So key terms, branded key terms, are basically the name of your practice. And if you have a very general name for your practice, it might be harder to dominate page 1, but you should most definitely dominate page 1. And you want to dominate page 1 for the name of your practice because you're most likely doing other things. You have signage, billboards, maybe television, radio, maybe you're going to trade shows, maybe you focus on women's healthcare, so you're at women's trade shows. So people are going to start to know your name and they're going to type it into the search engine. You've got to be sure that you come up at the top. So when we're looking at comparisons, we don't want to just leave our branded search terms alone. And what we find is if we look right here for this Site A comparison, we find that they are at the top of the engine for a variation of the name of their practice. They can also see what the search volume is. Now, this is a local search engine, and most of you will be in local search engines. You might be in multiple local search engines where you have 5 practices in 5 different cities. But for the most part, you're not going to go national unless you are a very large brand and you have centers throughout the country. We really do focus on regional and local in this case and what we're showing you today. So let's look at some of these keywords. Do we really want to be found under health clinics, Long Beach, California? There's only 10 searches. Is that something that's relevant to what we do? Has high commercial intent, certainly doesn't have the volume, but if it had high commercial intent, then maybe we would go for it. What about some of the others? There's a, Bellflower Health Center. Well, that's a branded term. Do we want to be found under Bellflower Health Center? We certainly do if that's the name of our organization. There's 170 searches. This competitor is on page 2 or 3, so they're what's called within striking distance. Once you move to page 2 and 3, we consider that striking distance, meaning that we have a very high likelihood of moving you to page 1. So it's really about looking at the volume, it's looking at the pages they're directing to. This is not a really solid plan here. I'm not really sure we should be chasing them, considering their blended ranks are all their own practice name. Where they're directing the traffic is all to the home page. So they really don't have anyone that doesn't seem like searching or paying attention to their search. This might just be, it might just so happen. So I'm not sure that's a competitor we would want to follow because of those things. This competitor, however, if you look at their blended rank and some of the keywords that they're being found under, you can see that they're geo-modified. The third one is MRI Plano. Well, that's really important. Well, the search volume is only 30, but that's for people in that area, and they're landing on that location page. So this is a much better way of going about it, is getting that geo-modified targeted keyword there, and then looking at what the search volume is, and landing them on a page that makes sense to that keyword. So we want to displace them, because MRI Plano has nothing to do with the name of this organization, Preferred Imaging. What we want to do is get some of those generic keywords, but geo-modified, land them on a page that makes sense, and even if it only has 30 in the volume, that's okay, because that might be 30 highly qualified, more so than just MRI nationally, right? Somebody's going to be looking for something local. They need an MRI, they need to go there. So when we think about what is most important when it comes to competitive intel, we want to use as much common sense as possible. We don't want to just chase because we think that competitor is going to beat us or that they're doing well. We really want to verify that data. And verifying that data requires doing some heavy research on your competitors. One of the tools we use has a patented what's called share of voice. So we basically take the keywords that you want to be optimized for, we put them in the engines, and we find out who really is showing up and who's dominating that space. And I can tell you if WebMD is dominating that space, and HealthGrid is dominating that space, and Wikipedia is dominating that space, we might be too broad right now. We're not really, those are distractors, right? So even if we are too broad, well, we might say, okay, if somebody searches for that term, they're going to know not to go to Wikipedia because they're looking for our service. So there is, you want to use common sense, but you also need to see what the true research is and who's showing up, because you don't want to just chase. Be sure to verify. So next we have high volume keywords, and how do we identify them? And so here's a situation where we have an imaging center ranking for high volume keywords, and you can see that they're within striking distance. They've just launched a new website. You can see that a lot of the cost is driving to this cost analysis. The key here is they are the low-cost leader. Otherwise, you should not have cost in there. If you're not going to share what something costs, avoid using cost within your keywords. They are the low-cost leader. These are general terms, but they are all geo-modified within the system. So this is where you come up with them in the beginning, and you say, okay, what are the high-volume keywords? This is a regional player. They have 16, 17 locations throughout the mid to southeast. And so we're really focused on the cost because they're along the patient journey a little bit further when they're starting to look at what something might cost. If they type in what is an MRI, they're further away from conversion. So we do look at the patient journey when we choose these keywords, and we look at volume. Again, blended rank, still on page 2, 3, 4, that's okay. They'll be climbing those engines very quickly. It doesn't take that long when you do it right. And the search volume, obviously, is higher. So that's voluminous keywords. Over here, when we look at the search volume, we are looking at a very, very targeted, focused Birmingham orthodontics, braces, orthodontist, and orthodontics. Now, keep in mind that we mentioned don't use one keyword. Well, in some cases we're really not, because this is totally geo-modified because it's only in the Birmingham search engine. Now, if you notice, braces cost is ranked at 45 with a 50 50 monthly search volume in Birmingham. We don't want to rank very high for that. Brace's cost is not, they're not the low-cost leader. So we're not really that concerned with Brace's cost. If we're not going to address that on the website when you land, if you can't land and figure out how much braces are going to cost, then there's no point for us to fight our way to the top. That'll come back to relevancy. So maybe the search volume isn't huge, but there's almost 1,000, there's more than 1,000 searches. And if I'm in position 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to get 40 to 50% of those clicks. That's okay with me. If I'm one location, they actually have 5, so they have 5 different local search engines. But the point is, that's really good search volume because it's targeted search volume. Okay, so takeaway, getting to position 1 with less volume creates an easier opportunity to get there in most cases. So if you really pay attention and you look at your competitors, you're drilling down, you're looking at the volume, the next thing you want to do is look at relevancy. So I mentioned the low-cost leader and the company that's not a low-cost leader. So relevancy is really about keeping the goal in mind and keeping people sticky on your website. So you filter for relevance by looking for content that speaks to the keyword. Again, if you're the low-cost leader and you can go to a cost analysis, that's fantastic. If you're not the low-cost leader and you're not going to talk about price, then cost should never be part of your keyword phrase. If you are a patient, would this keyword be worth writing for? I know we need to talk about our services, but quite frankly, are you writing about bariatric surgery, lap bands, or weight loss surgery? Which is your consumer looking for, your patient? Which is most likely for them? What makes the most sense? And then, is that content something that's going to help me along that patient journey? And lastly, is your keyword, again, going back to that example, bariatric or weight loss? Which one is more patient-friendly? So when choosing the keywords, relevant keywords, choose them that are relevant to your product, services, and content, and also keywords that accurately describe your content, because they're going to skim the website. Most people skim. They need to be able to find what they're looking for, look for it quickly, get it, and then engage. So let's look at relevant key terms. Okay, so this is a medical practice, highly relevant terms. They're not being found. We didn't give you the ranks. We've got the keyword value. We want to show you the relevancy of that keyword value, right? So dermatologist, neurologist, pediatrician, eye doctor, lots and lots of search volume. This is national. How relevant really is that to the business? Dermatologist, if it were dermatologist for dark skin type, then you're going to get much better relevancy if you have a page that discusses it, higher intent, more likely to climb the search engine. If you are looking to be found under dermatologist, that 95 means that it's unlikely. But let's suppose you want to. What do you think is going to show up for dermatologist? Again, we're going to go back to the big one. Wikipedia, HealthGrades, WebMD, the dominators, the sources and portals, if you will, that have tens of thousands of pages. So relevant keywords means taking, yes, dermatologist, but building around it. So be sure that you geo-modify and add localization of some sort. That'll help you get a better position on the search engines where people are looking, literally, where they're looking within that local area. Let's look at intent. So ultimately, intent is the most important aspect of your research and defining. So we're going to talk a little bit about personas and building patient personas. And if you haven't done so, now is a great time of year to do it, because we're going into 2016 rapidly. And it might be a good downtime with the holidays, to really figure out who your personas are, to build a plan around speaking to them directly. So demographics, easily found through analytics. Lifestyle, maybe not so much. You have to determine what the lifestyle is of the persona or the person that you're speaking to. And what is their true need? Do they need your services? Is it a trigger event? Is it something they've thought about a long time? Technology involvement. Are you going to find them on Facebook? Are they going to be in Instagram? Who are they? Where are they? What is their age group? How technology savvy are they? And what are their goals and challenges? Not yours. But what are they trying to achieve? And obviously there's a lot more you can get into, but just looking at that, we're going to share some for cosmetic surgery. So the personas at a glance for cosmetic surgery, and there's certainly more. These are the three that we're sharing. So forever young. High interest level, age is the enemy, decision maker with means, most likely going to be more educated, may shop for price because they know the product. So if it's a filler or it's a Botox or it's a chemical peel or something, they might be more educated, might shop for price. They might shop for somebody that is on the cutting edge. Maybe they've gone somewhere and they just don't feel like they've got the best new, latest and greatest to fight age. The next might be someone who's my best self and requires surgical procedures following something. Car accident, something. They're going to be more fragile in nature, more emotional. Their interest level is medium because this is part of a healing process, right? So how we speak to them is going to be very different than how we speak to forever young. We need to really show our best self by sharing with them how well we're going to take care of them. So we're going to speak to them differently, and their key terms are going to be different. And then we have finally ready. So he or she has waited a lifetime or a long period of time. Their interest level is low because they have waited as long as they have. They're going to do what they think is the best for them. And they might have lesser means. They might spend more wisely. So they're really going to want to know maybe what happens after the procedure. So they've waited this long. They're not looking necessarily at what the procedure is, but how that procedure occurs and what happens after the procedure. So we have to address them differently in our content. And certainly we have content strategy and webinars that you can attend that will help you in defining personas and how you attract them and how you speak to them. So what are they searching for? If you just answer these questions and you start to write and think about this, you're going to be on a much better path. Some of you may have more sophisticated plans than others, but the three questions. Do we show how we are different? Is trust an issue with our service? I would go out there and say, well, generally speaking, health certainly is. And what are patients trying to accomplish? Not what is the procedure, what is the tactic, what are they buying, if you will, but really what do they want to accomplish? So if I'm an endocrinology associate center, I've got 10 endocrinologists, I might be affiliated with a hospital, maybe get a lot of referrals, but at the end of the day, I have a diabetic. Is it type 1? Is it type 2? What's the age demographic? How am I going to serve them? So what is that person trying to accomplish? I mean, we could easily say, what, control their diabetes? There's a whole heck of a lot that goes along with that in the personas. So at least answer these three questions, and then it's time to dig a little bit deeper. The reason we talk about this is because of the intent of the keyword. It's really important that you understand the intent because we want to guide patients. We want to avoid friction. We want to guide them to where they want to go and what they're attempting to accomplish. So high intent keywords. So we have an aesthetic practice with high intent keywords, and we can see that there's low search volume, they're dominating, that's fantastic. You can see that they're a little bit longer tail. So we've done a really good job in the intentional factor, maybe not so much in the search volume, and we'll show you how you get to this point, pulling it all together. But you can see that we've gone from skin rejuvenation for men, from just skin rejuvenation to skin rejuvenation for men, and we're going to drive them to a particular page. So will this person buy my services based on this keyword? So are they most likely to buy based on that keyword? And you really sometimes have to step out of what you do and just ask people. Okay, let's wrap it up. The keyword selection, the most important part. Reiterating, competitor keywords. Do we want to chase them? Are they worth chasing? Make sure we know who our competitors are. Be more specific, less broad, at the very least, geo-modify. Remember, relevancy is going to be key. And a couple of notes here. 500 words per page, one key term per page. That's the basic rules of Google. So relevancy, highly important to the key term, or you're not going to make it to the page one. And then intent. Once you're at page one, are you really getting what you want? So here's a filtered list, semi-filtered. So sure, it makes sense. Pediatrician, Atlanta, Georgia, general pediatric topics, etc. Most of these key terms are landing on the home page. Northside Pediatrics. Northside is a large hospital here in Atlanta. They are known for their birthing center and pediatrics, and so, they probably have tens of thousands of pages, but this is kind of a okay list. There's 880 searches for Sandy Springs Pediatrics, so that is probably an office, a clinic, a doctor's association, but they're driving to the home page. So this doesn't look like it's complete. It looks like it's halfway there. They've got longer tail. They've got some decent rank for sure. They're landing most of the time on the home page. That needs to be corrected. And they shouldn't ever fight for a position when there's not available, because that means that there just isn't enough search, that it's not even registered. Now let's look at the final selection. And this is a well-defined list, and this client does very well. And you can see that almost every one of their keywords are 2+, specific, have decent search volume, great blended ranks, and look at where they're going, what pages. There's only 2 that are landing on the home page, and that's probably just because the landing page hasn't been written yet, specifically for Smart Lipo in Atlanta, or laser hair removal Atlanta call. Maybe we want to be even more specific, so that means building out more pages. But when you do this, your conversion rates are very high. Now this happens to be an aesthetic care kind of center with obviously hair removal, liposuction, fillers, etc. But this is what you get to, a solid list that has great keywords, well-defined, great blended rank chances. The page, there's a landing page, and then there's good search volume. And good search volume, that's exactly what it is. It's good search volume. If you have high intent, you're going to convert more. Okay, so I know we've covered a lot today. Just some of the key takeaways are it's not just about volume. Don't get caught up in the volume, because then you'll get frustrated in the bounce rates. It'll be a forever cyclical situation you're in without getting to page one, because that's really where you need to be if 89.82% are clicking on page one. Relevancy is about your patient and what they're looking for, not about your product and service. So they need to be able to identify, right, understand, why am I clicking, why am I here, what am I doing here, and what can I gain? And then really take the time to research so your list of keywords is solid, because this is some companies tell you it takes 4 to 6 months to even start to see increase in organic search ranking. We've really done a good job of reducing that down to 60 days, but it is a longer haul. Algorithms change, things change, competitors come about, so it's important that when you hit this, when you choose this battle, that you know why you're taking that hill or why you're fighting that battle, because on the other side is something for you. And so a measurable ROI in new patients is typically what people are looking for. The website performance analysis we offer to anyone who's attended our webinars. We're happy to do a performance analysis. The website always comes first. It has to be mobile optimized. As of April 21st, 2015, Google eradicated the way that it looks at websites, and many, many businesses and practices and organizations have fallen off the engine, meaning that they've been relegated to page 6, 7, 8 because their site is not mobile friendly. Be sure yours is. Be sure you don't have a lot of technical issues. Have this taken care of, because it's something that you can do before the end of the year, and you can really hit the ground running in the new year with a solid search optimization program. So please reach out to us. If there's any type of webinar that you're interested in us producing, we're happy to hear what you have to say and get your feedback. And again, we look forward to hearing your feedback and providing a web performance analysis for you. Thanks, everyone.